Well, good afternoon and welcome back to the Little French Homestead. My name is Sherry. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I will give you the recipe linked down below. So I just want to say that normally when I go through the grocery store, I was spending a little too much money, not knowing that I was. So I used to track every dollar on the groceries I spend. I mean, seriously, I had spreadsheets, budget app, the whole 9 yards. I made a budget, I made a meal plan, or at least I thought I did. And honestly, I believed I was a savvy shopper. So you can imagine to my shock when I actually finally sat down and did a real audit on my spending. And I realized I was still overspending by nearly $200 every single month. It wasn't one big, obvious expense. It was a slow drain made up of tiny, sneaky habits that I never even noticed that were adding up. Here's the thing. Your grocery bill probably isn't high just because of inflation. It's also high because most of us were actually never taught how to smart shop or evaluate food cost beyond the price tag. I was making 7 of these common mistakes, and they were quietly draining my bank account. Today, I'm going to share exactly what those mistakes are and how much they were costing me, and the simple changes I made to stop the bleeding. So stick around because I have a feeling you might be making a few of these too. The first thing, setting a fantasy budget. My mistake, and the one that I set me up for failure from the start. I was setting a completely unrealistic budget. I was living in a dream world. I see a video about someone feeding their family of 4 on $400 a month and think, hey, I can do that. So I pulled a number out of thin air and said, hey, $500 for the 5 of us, and declared it my new grocery budget. The problem was that number had zero connection to my reality. It wasn't based on what my family actually eats, the stores near me, or what actually costs in my city. It was just a nice round number that sounded so frugal. So every single month, I would go over, and by the third week, I was already at $450 and just threw my hands up. I felt guilty, like I failed, and that guilt would lead to frustrating spending, where I would just buy whatever I want because, hey, the budget was already blown, right? The fix was surprisingly simple, but it felt totally backwards. I stopped budgeting. For 1 month, I just tracked. I spent what I would normally spend without any judgment, but I wrote down every penny I spent. And at the end of the month, I had my number, my true, honest baseline. It was higher than what I wanted, but it was real. You can't fix a problem if you don't know how big it is. This step alone didn't save me money, but it gave me the data that I needed to tackle the issues intelligently instead of just wishing it away. Mistake number 2, the what's for dinner scramble. My old version of meal planning was basically a joke. I sit down on Sunday and jot down a few vague ideas like Taco Tuesday or Pasta Night. That isn't a plan, it's a suggestion. The lack of a real plan led directly to the 5 o'clock panic of what's for dinner. In that hunger, frantic state, I'd either run to the store for 1 or 2 things and walk out with $40 worth of stuff, or I'd just give up and order takeout. This habit was also a source of so much food waste. I'd go to the store and do what I call now inspirational shopping. I'd buy a beautiful bunch of kale, some organic beets, maybe some fancy mushrooms with this vague notion of being super healthy this week. But because those items weren't attached to a specific menu, they sit in the crisper drawer, slowly becoming a science experiment until I had to throw them out. I was literally throwing money in the trash. The solution was to completely reverse my planning process. Now, before I even think about what I want to cook, I shop my own kitchen. I open the fridge, the freezer, and the pantry and see what needs to be used up. That half a marinara jar and some aging bell peppers, great. That is a starting point for a meal. Only after that I've taken inventory of my home do I build a list of maybe the 7 to 10 concrete meals for the week. The difference is staggering. My grocery list is now incredibly specific and my food waste is practically zero. Mistake number 3, the pantry and freezer blindness. This next mistake is related to not meal planning, but it's much sneakier. Even when I had a list, I was operating with what I call pantry blindness. I would write ketchup on a shopping list because the bottle in the fridge was half empty. I wouldn't bother to check the back pantry, of course, and there was 2 new bottles of ketchup unopened hiding in there. I did this with everything, spices, canned goods, pasta, you name it. My freezer was even worse. It was a black hole. I'd buy a family pack of chicken on sale and toss it in and immediately forget it existed. The next week, I'd buy more chicken. I once found 3 separate, all open bag of frozen peas. I was buying duplicates and triplicates of everything that I already had, all because I had no system for knowing what was in there. It's not just wasted money, it's wasted space and a source of constant low-level stress. The fix took me about 10 minutes. I bought a small magnet whiteboard that now lives on my freezer door. Whenever a major item goes in, like chicken, ground beef, or bread, I write it down. When I use it up, I erase it. For the pantry, I made 1 shelf of the use this first shelf. When I unpack now my groceries, I find that I bought a new mustard when I already had one. The new one goes on that shelf, and as a visual reminder, this simple system has completely stopped me from buying the stuff that I already own. Mistake number 4, falling for the bigger is better myth. For years, I was convinced that the family size or bulk packaging was always the smartest financial choice. It feels like it should be, right? A bigger box means that the lower cost per item. But I was getting tricked all the time. Turns out the grocery stores are masters of psychology, and they know we assume this without actually checking. I first noticed it with cereal. That giant family-sized box would be right next to the 2 smaller store brand boxes for a 2 for $5 sale. My brain would automatically reach for the big box. But one day I paused and I did the actual math. I looked at the unit price, that tiny text that sits on the shelf tag that shows the price per ounce or per gram. More often than not, the smaller boxes on sale were way cheaper per ounce than the single large box, and I was paying a premium for the bigger piece of cardboard. From that day on, the unit price became my best friend, and it's a great equalizer. It cuts through all the marketing, the flashy packaging, and the confusing sale signs. It is the only way to truly compare 2 different items and know which one is a better deal. Now I never put anything in my cart without a quick glance at the unit price, and it's 2 seconds habit that saves me some real money on everything from coffee to cheese. Mistake number 5, the lure of the red tag. Now I have a confession. I am a recovering sales addict. Those bright red sales or BOGO tags used to do something to my brain. I see 10 for 10 deal on canned beans and immediately load 10 cans into my cart, feeling like a shopping genius. The problem? My original list only called for 1 can of beans, and I had no plan for the other 9. This is what I call a fake savings. You don't actually save money if you buy something you didn't need in the first place, or worse, if it expires before you can use it. I once bought a huge restaurant-sized container of a specialty salad dressing because it was on clearance. I used it twice, got tired of it, and eventually grew its own civilization in the back of my fridge. And I didn't save anything. I wasted 100% of the money I spent. Mistake number 6, just the popping in habit. My house is dangerously close to the grocery store, and I used to think that that was a convenience, but now I know it's a liability. My old habit was just to pop in for a quick 1 or 2 things. Out of milk, I'll pop in. Need some bread for dinner, I'll pop in. But let's be honest, has anyone in history ever gone into the grocery store and just bought that one thing? Every time you walk in through those automatic doors, you're entering a minefield of impulse buys. Store layouts are designed to make you spend more money. That quick trip for milk would become a $60 expedition because I'd have to walk past the fresh bakery, cookies, or a new chip flavor on display, candy at the checkout. Those small, unplanned purchases were absolute budget killers. Mistake number 7. The last mistake and the most painful one is because it often feels like you're doing it right. We're all told buying bulk saves money, and sometimes it does, don't get me wrong. But it only saves you money if you actually use what you buy. My kitchen used to be a graveyard for bulk buy deals gone wrong. My biggest weakness was the warehouse clubs. I see a giant 2-pound bag of fresh spinach and think, what a deal. I'll make salad and smoothies all week. I used about a quarter of it before it turned green into a bag of slime. I once bought a whole flat of avocados because the unit per price was incredible. I ate 2, got busy, and the rest turned to mush on my counter. I was so focused on that unit price that I ignored the most important factor. How much could I actually consume? I wasn't saving money. I was just paying less to throw more away. When it all adds up, the duplicate items, then the wasted produce, it fake savings from sales, the impulse buys, and the bulk items that went bad. It's easily costing me $200 or more a month. And the crazy part is that I thought I was being frugal the whole time. The problem wasn't that I wasn't trying. It was that I did not have the right strategy. Fixing this wasn't about depriving myself or eating beans and rice every night. It was about being more intentional. It was about creating a system to protect me from my own worst shopping impulses. By tracking my real spending, shopping my pantry, I saved over $200. Thank you for being with me today. If you like these videos, like, share, but most importantly, go ahead and subscribe. And as always, keep on cooking.